This is Good Morning Mumbai with HrishiKay.
I'm so thrilled. The lovely Gauahar Khan is back in studio. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How beautiful are you?
Thank you.
Inside and outside.
Thank you.
And I mean that. I'm a massive fan, and you know that. There's a lot of love that I feel for you, and I echo the sentiments of all my listeners. Mukul Chadda for the very first time.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's wonderful. You know, Rasika and myself have been discussing this for such a while, saying, you know, it's about time I brought you in. I was thinking of doing it for the improv comedy, and here you are having your own show as leading man.
Forced my way in. Rishi. I had to. I had to come and be on your show, man.
So, The Office. I mean, it's a cult show. We're talking BBC and we're talking Steve Carell and the works. And here's this golden opportunity that's presented itself to the two of you, courtesy Applause and BBC. So, when did you first hear of this rework, as it were? And how excited were you right at the top?
Well, I got actually, funnily, there was a message that went around on some WhatsApp group, you know, like saying, because I'm part of an improv group and I think they were looking for improvisers as well. So some message went around, and you get many of these that come around on WhatsApp groups saying, oh, some office-based show is looking for people.
Office-based?
Yeah, they want people in an office, and you ignore those messages because generally they mean nothing, and, you know, calling makes no difference. So that's the first I heard of it, but I didn't really think it's The Office. I hadn't seen The Office, the UK or US versions earlier anyway. Until I got a call later from Kavish, who was casting for the project, and he said, they're remaking The Office in India, and would you like to play the lead? Would you be interested in auditioning for the lead? So I said, yeah. I mean, like, why not? So he said, watch the US show then if you haven't seen it. So I started watching some episodes and I went for the audition. But as soon as I started watching it, and I saw what the show was and I saw what the character was, I was pumped. I was like, I want this. And things worked out, luckily.
And I love how you've done, you know, Ria, your own take on it. You know, she's elegant, which is so easy for you to do. But the fact that the moment she walks into this paper office, Chadda just starts freezing, you know. It's quite intimidating.
Well, I don't know if he's even... I mean, I think Chadda wants to show that he's not intimidated, and he plays up his jokes like that, and he thinks Ria is so impressed by them, but actually Ria is never impressed by them, and that's the contradiction that actually works between their chemistry so well.
Because we both wear the pants.
Yeah. yeah, that's what he believes, but actually I've got the whip in my hand. Whoop.
Yeah, totally. And I ran through 4 episodes as breezily as I could, and I figured that, you know, it's set in Faridabad and NCR and things like that. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because Delhi or the NCR now, which is the Gurgaon, Faridabad region, just lends itself to comedy so beautifully, because people are caricaturists. Yeah. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody who is from the 9 to 5 world will relate to it so much, because the characters are right there. I mean, you would always see somebody who's ultra religious and somebody who's right up your, you know what, to irritate you. There are many such characters. With Ria, of course, she's from Delhi. She's from the head office. So Faridabad is something that she needs to look over, but she doesn't really belong there so much. But she understands what goes around in a Faridabad kind of a setup, especially if she has someone like Chadda taking over that place.
I like the fact that a lot of stereotypes are laughed at and in that aspect brought down. You know, for example, the traditional myth of a Muslim man should be speaking in Shero-Shari, Salim.
Yeah.
And you actually take the piss out of Salim, the character, and that's actually a very telling comment. And that's prime proof of the fact that you can use comedy to send so many subliminal messages out there. Who would know that better than you? You've been involved with comedy for so long.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things with this show, we got a lot of questions about, you know, is this relevant in this day and age? Because Chadda's character is so politically incorrect. I mean, he's racist, he's sexist, he makes all the inappropriate comments. And my point is, you know, in fact, I love playing a character whose politics is different from mine, because it's a wonderful challenge. I don't have a problem with that, as long as the politics of the show are fine. And I think that's what the show does. You know, it shows that he does these things, but they're actually affecting people. And what the result of that is. So I think it's, as long as the politics of the show is correct, I think that's fantastic.
And I believe the team of writers includes people like Rajesh Devraj and Arshad Syed, yeah?
Yes.
And these are all, it's so surreal, because JJ, was Javed Jaffri's son, was here, Mizan.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, when we were kids and we used to see Videocon Flashback and Timex Time Pass. And these were shows which are written by Arshad.
Yeah.
Co-written.
He's very talented. He's written, in fact, one of my favorite episodes in season 1, episode 11, that's written by Arshad.
Oh, that's the Dandiya one.
Dandiya Downsizing. It's a fantastic episode. I mean, he's done a fantastic job with that.
That episode is fantastic.
So it's funny you mentioned him. I actually, didn't know all this about him, but very talented writer, yeah.
And Rajesh Devraj, if I remember correctly, because I used to be in and out of Channel V doing voiceovers, was also behind Quick Gun Murugan, and he's one of the creators.
Oh, wow.
It's another iconic character that was built. And this seems like so much fun filming because you've got a motley crew of characters. Actors who are as different from each other. I know it was a set, but just filming for it.
It was, I think, a laugh riot even shooting it because of course you want to stay true to the script and the characters and everything, but by the end of all the workshops and the readings, there was such great chemistry with every other person, there was bonds, and also we were meeting up besides the shoot, so lunch was being shared, food was being brought from home, all kinds of dabbas, so it was not just culturally binding on amongst characters but also the actors, I would say.
How true have they stayed to the original, or is it just, writing a show in India is very difficult, because you can't take a proven foreign format and just make it work here. You've got to really work on Indianizing it. And you've got the fundamental plot from the original. How true is it to the original in terms of material and how much play has been taken on that?
See, I agree with you. I think we've got a great format, great set of characters, great plot lines that has been taken from the US show, which borrowed from the UK show as well. But yes, then you need to Indianize it, because it's not a given that you can just do this and it'll work. So I think the writers have done a great job of managing that, and I find the comments I get from people are that it's so relatable. In fact, some friends of mine who've seen the US version say they actually like this better. And I mean, I don't like these comparisons in general, but it's very heartwarming to hear that because you realize that, the relatability is what really works. So you have to bring that in, and the writers have done a fantastic job with that. Regarding,
go ahead.
No, with improvising and stuff on set. So we did have set scripts that the writers had written, but then what did happen, and I think it happened more as we went along the episodes also, is that we did, use that freedom to say, okay, we'd shoot a scene maybe with, what was in the script, but then we'd also try our own variant on it and see what, give them more options in the edit room. Very often they wouldn't call cut.
Yeah.
We'd shoot and then, they wouldn't call cut and see where it goes. And if something magical appears, then we'd use it.
Yeah.
And the camera women, right, the DOPs, they both are essential.
They are fantastic.
They're essential.
Woman Power. The DOPs
Absolutely,
are ladies.
Oh yeah.
And Debbie, the director, is also.
She
For some episodes, she did the first 7.
Chunk,
And Dhavalika and Kavya, I mean, they're characters in the show because they're, the camera is an acknowledged character in the show, and so you're playing with them, and that sort of improvising was happening not just with the cast and all of us, but with them as well.
And what a job they've done, because I think it's not just about the lines, but also reactions. And it's only up to them as to which character did they go to and get that reaction from. And it works. It makes the scene so much better. And also I'd like to say, I was at the supermarket just yesterday and this guy walks up to me and he's like, "You're Gauahar Khan, right?" I said, "Yeah." And I'm in with glasses and everything.
Are you living under a rock?
No, I mean, I had glasses on or whatever. And he comes in, "Are you Gauahar Khan?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I have just right now, an hour ago, finished all the episodes of The Office.
Lovely.
And I am the biggest fan of the original show." So he's watched the American and the British versions. And he tells me, even though I have watched that, I felt like I was hooked on to all the 13 episodes of this show. And I didn't give up because it grows on you. So I thought that was quite amazing to hear,
Does the show eventually get into specifics? Like, for example, I saw in one episode where, he's just being nasty as his character is.
Oh, you mean all the episodes?
And he's having a conversation with the other friend of his, and they remark on your marriage.
Oh my God, Chopra!
Yeah, so do they get into specifics on, your so-called trouble marriage and things like that?
Yeah.
Or is it left? Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to see the end of you got to see the end of season 1. Wait till end of season 1.
So no spoilers. Fine.
Yeah, no spoilers. But I have to tell you, all the wrongs will eventually feel like you'll relate to that. Like, I know he's nasty, but in every episode, at some point, you'll feel like pulling his cheeks and say, but he's still so humane. I mean, he is wrong, but certain parts of Chadda are so likable. He's endearing, and I don't think Chopra is.
Irredeemable
Yeah,
character.
there's nothing you can do about Ranveer Shori as Chopra. Yeah.
You know, at the heart of it, Chadda, which is not Mukul Chadda, but Jagdeep Chadda, is a vile guy. But then she's right. You know, like for example, when he goes out to try and give them a treat, and you see he's sitting on a Ferris wheel or whatever, and, he's saying, and then finally he comes back and nothing but kulfi, because he's conjuice. You know, but there are points when you want to do that. You want to pull the cheek.
Yeah.
Was it just in the writing, or did you feel that I can do this with Chadda?
I think it's a lot of things, right? I mean, that balancing act for the character, which I think comes from, I mean, it was a challenge for me how to play it. It's in the writing, it's also in the direction, because a lot of it is a function of how the other characters react to you. You know, I mean, what you feel about a character is a function of how other characters react to them. If they're all going to treat me as I'm a vile person, you as the audience is going to think that. So that's a delicate balance the director had to draw as well. And that's the beauty of the show, that you have this sort of, you know, people wonder, should we like this guy, not like this guy? And that makes it quite wonderful. So I wouldn't call him vile. He's...
you love him.
Yeah, I mean, I have to, right? I mean,
Self-love.
which is also Jagdeep, is so much self-love, right? But yeah, he just says and does the absolute wrong thing at every point in time.
But gets away with it.
And realizes it just too late, or doesn't realize it. But yeah, that's a tricky balancing act, and I think it you know, required a lot to make sure we get that right.
Did you ever hold a 9 to 5? I mean, before you became an actress or something, or were you ever put into an office space, or did you just find your calling in the performing arts very early on?
No, so I've done all kinds of odd jobs, but never really a 9 to 5. I've never had a boss, you know, per se, but I've done, I've sold stickers in Pune. I was telling my niece right now that I've worked with Marshall Noam, gone from college to college, set up camps, you know, introduced girls to what soft lenses were, tried them on. I've worked at Dorabji 9 to 9, serving food to people in a superstore. So I've done all kinds of jobs, but not really a 9 to 5 office setup.
What about you, Mr. St. Stevens?
Rishi and I go back a long way. But I worked in there's no 9 to 5 job now. They're all like,
they're different.
They're like,
Nobody cares what time you clock out.
Yeah.
Your clock in can be 9, but your clock out is whenever.
There's no such thing. So I worked, haven't had as much of a diverse work experience as Gauahar, but I've done one corporate job for 6 years.
Wow.
Suit and tie, everything. I was a research analyst at Lehman Brothers in New York. So
6 years?
6 years,
I didn't know that.
And I couldn't handle the suit and tie anymore, so I quit, became an actor, only to wear a suit and tie again. In the office.
Yeah. No, this time be the boss.
No, the reason I'm asking that is because there are lots of dynamics in an office. You know, there's always an office romance or a half romance, as it is the case between the receptionist and the sales boy.
Yeah.
And then there are all these, you know, subliminal messages about enmities and, you know, sales enmities and things like that.
Yeah.
Who would be one of your favorite characters and why?
Okay, so I have to honestly say Chadda is my favorite character, because I have told him this all the time, even during the shoot, that you don't even know how good you are on the show. And I have like been in awe of some of the scenes that he would do, and I would think he's just adorable. He's got these small eyes that, you know, even go smaller when he's trying to think that he's the hero and all of that. So I've told him all that. He already knows that. But I think the other character that I have absolutely grown to love is Amit, Sarandeep, the guy, Jim, basically the original guy. But the way Amit has played it has been so good. So in fact, it's really tough to pick a character because Sapan, the Abhinav's character, is so. I mean, he's got not so many lines in terms of actions, but his reactions are so good that you can't take your eyes off him. Of course, Pami is amazing. Sarlaji is amazing. Everyone's outstanding. Anjali is a character that I thought I haven't watched the original, so I don't know what any of these characters are like. But when I saw Anjali, I saw a couple of episodes, and I was like, whoa, she's done such a good job. Priyanka Setia, she's done such a fantastic job.
And Gopal Dutt, man.
Oh yeah, how did I miss him?
He can walk into a scene and you just instinctively start laughing.
Yeah.
You know?
That happened on set very often.
Oh, very often.
That happened on set very often. And Abhinav, who she was talking about, he was our best audience on set because he would crack up during shots. And so much so that sometimes when we had time pressure, the director would say, Abhinav, this shot, you're not going to laugh on take one. We laughed a lot.
Yeah.
So Debbie directs 7 episodes.
And Rohan 6.
And Rohan 6. This is Rohan Sippy.
Rohan Sippy, that's right.
Yeah. Rohan is quite a character.
Yes.
Gauahar has done a show with him before.
Yeah. This actually after. Yeah. I did Side Hero after I did The Office.
Wow. So it's just, that one released
That
earlier.
released before, yeah.
And Rohan's really good at this quirky, oddball kind of comedy, yeah?
Yeah.
You want to comment on that? Working with Rohan.
I think he is. I fell in love with him when I was shooting The Office, and then when he offered me Side Hero, I was like, "Oh, I get to work with you again." So he's so intelligent. He's a director who is not of many words on set. Like, he will let you be. I'll tell you something very interesting about Rohan sir. He will not look into the monitor. Usually, you will see directors looking into the monitor and then deciding whether a scene works. He will look at the actors. He doesn't care what's happening on the monitor so much. He'll look at the actors. If the actor delivered, did he get it? Okay, fine, next. He would never force you to give extra takes if he knows he's got his shot.
It's a very theatre way of functioning.
No, but he's absolutely right. He's
Yeah.
got a very laconic style, right, Rohan? So you do a take and then he'd say, pretty good. Deadpan, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good, moving on, and he'd walk out.
Yeah.
And as an actor, you're dying at some level.
Yeah.
Are you sure? One take? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, can we do? Can we do
Yeah.
5 more just to make
Yeah.
sure? Like what's happening? And because no reaction on his face, right? And of course, if he didn't like it, then he would
He'll say,
obviously do
let's
more
do
takes.
one more.
But his way of saying it was a good day is. Sometimes I went back with him because we don't live far
Drive
apart, so we
back,
drive
yeah.
back, and he would just say, pretty good day today, and that means Ron's really happy with how the shoot went.
Yeah.
So
Very, very.
I get the feeling that apart from Kunal, Kunal Roy Kapoor,
Yeah.
whom he loves,
Yes, he does.
he might just have fallen in love with your acting potential
Yeah,
because
he
he
did.
loves this kind of comedy. I have a feeling.
He does love this kind of comedy, no doubt. And in fact, he and Gopal and Kunal have done a lot of work together. I've done some work with them, but that's like the dream team, I say. We did a bunch of shots, newsroom satires
I
after
saw
that.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is right up his alley. I mean, he's totally this is his brand of comedy.
So Ria obviously is also, when she wants to be cutthroat, she can be cutthroat. Like when she asks Chadda to just downsize.
Yeah.
I mean, first there's a conversation about Srivastav's team and his team getting together.
Yeah.
The Faridabad and the
Gurgaon branch.
Gurgaon branch is
Yeah.
coming together.
Merge, huh.
And then the whole downsizing of it.
Yeah.
So is there a ruthless streak to her, or is she just businesslike,
She
brusque?
she means business. She knows that she's here to do the job, and of course she doesn't have the time to deal with all of his antics, the everything that he goes on about. But she's also, you'll see, I mean, as of course you've seen 4 episodes, right? When you see it further down, she does have this kind of 2-second of a time frame for his kind of patience with him, but then eventually she just knows she has to move on, because he can go on forever about his issues, not really about the office issues, because he thinks that but Ria, and the funniest thing about him is that there's this one scene where they've had this heated conversation, and then even after her giving him a solution for what's happening, he turns around and says, "Oh, so I'm not getting fired." I mean, he doesn't. And then he knows Pommi is sitting right there because he has to cover up. Because, no, I don't want anybody else to get fired. मैं नहीं चाहता कि कोई और fire हो. So he's somewhere, his world revolves around Chadda.
Whose doesn't?
That scene actually I vividly remember because he turns around and says, "I've got a civic ka EMI."
Yeah.
So he's so self-centered
Yeah, he is.
that, and then he has to break back into I have to be the school boss and things like that.
Yeah.
So
But you have
it's a
to
really
watch.
good scene.
I think it's. I think to some extent we're all like that. It's
We
just
are.
that we are conscious enough that we know what's happening around, that we hold that thought within ourselves. It may be a split second between that thought for yourself and then worried about the rest of the office. He has no filter, so
Yeah.
it just comes out, and
Yeah.
then his reaction of realizing that, I should not say this,
Yeah.
comes much later than it does for most people. That's the
Yeah.
difference. But I want to get back to a previous question of yours where you're talking about, Ria's character being this tough one. There's a lot of other facets to Ria's character, so you got to get to episode 13 to see a lot different side of Ria and how she can be so different. And that's the great part of the show, is that, it just fleshes out all the other characters as you go along.
I think she eases out around the 8th. I mean, she wants to crack the whip on him again in episode 8. But somehow she's like, relax. It's not your job that I'm talking about. It's whatever's happening around. And 13, of course, is the...
Must see.
Must see.
So, how many seasons, how many episodes are we talking about? The Indian version.
Well, right now,
We're talking about
What's on
season
right
1.
now?
What's on is 1 season, 13 episodes. Is on air. Yes.
It's on air, and then you'll take it as it comes. Yeah. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked her. Now, don't talk about Gopal because we've talked about him, and of course about Amit. But any other memorable characters? Like, I love the Jat who comes in.
The
Who loves
boyfriend.
himself, the boyfriend of the
Pompey's fiancé. Yeah, Pompey's fiancé.
fiancé.
Yeah. That's a great
You
character.
know, and anybody who's been to Delhi University knows those kinds. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say TP's character actually, if you asked me that question. But the other character I like, which is an introduction in our show, which isn't there in the US show, is a character called Bhadoria. You know, he's the office peon. You know,
He's
and
fantastic, yeah.
he's a very good Nepal. He's an excellent actor, and he's just little scenes you do with him. Again, in 11, I had scenes with him, and he just was magical to work with. It's just. It's a fantastic character. He's just scheming all the time quietly behind the scenes.
I love that one little shot in which they're saying kiski naukri jayegi and he's standing in the corner and saying Pummy ka 2000, Pummy ka 2000.
betting.
He's completely betting, and the show is all about that, right? These little reactions like Gaurav was
it
talking
is.
about of other people, and that just tells you what's happening in the office.
Yeah, and also again, these subliminal messages being sent out about racism.
Yeah.
As a South Indian, it just pisses me off to no extent when everybody south of the India is just called Madrasi.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a Mallu character who says, dude, I was born in Kochi.
Kutti.
Nothing to do
not
with
in
that.
this, yeah.
Which I think is again a very interesting characterization. I want to come to, in all situational comedies, there are people who are just thrown into the mix. Like, for example, there's a character of Loveleen who's a beautician.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautician.
Yes.
Who comes in and everybody's salivating.
Yeah.
Beautician, dietitian.
Yeah.
So a lot of that happens, at least in season 1, just people being
yes.
thrown into the mix and then reacting.
Yeah, I think the good part of the writing is, it just puts these weird oddball characters into situations and it just brings out the worst of their characters, right?
Yeah.
And then you see what happens.
Yeah. Like TP just wanted to marry her.
Yeah, he was
He says, मैं अपना ब्रह्मचारी का व्रत तोड़ना चाहता हूँ.
Correct.
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. So, Debbie, I don't know much about her. So, would you just take me through her? She's directed the 7 episodes. Rohan, we talked about it.
Yeah, Debbie was also, it's funny because we worked with different directors with different styles, but it all worked out. I was initially unsure, how does this work? I'm normally used to working with just one director. And they have very different styles, but I think it all, it wasn't a problem for us.
Yeah.
Debbie used to do this crazy thing, I remember, which was, we'd do a take and then we'd do a shot and then, she'd get everything right. And when she got what she wanted, she'd say, okay, we're doing a fun take now.
Yeah.
Which means everyone do what you want, and then we do what we wanted. And sometimes something magical would come out of that. And then she'd be like, this is even better. And now we'd go down that rabbit hole and then do another 10 takes possibly sometimes. So that was a fun way to work. And I think this whole thing of, what you were referring to earlier about improvising, letting things run, go with the flow. A lot of that happened in different ways with different directors, but all that happened. It was great fun.
And she's also a very good human being. Like, she's fun to be around and she's was
mad.
easy. Yeah. She was really cool.
Yeah, because, there are some stalwarts of television in there. Applause as Sameer Nair and Deepak Sehgal.
Yeah.
These guys have done mainstream television for
Yeah.
donkey's years.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, even though it is an original web series, the basics are the same. It's like riding a bicycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do an interesting show or content for television or the World Wide Web, And
But I will give them this, I think Sameer is actually the biggest fan of The Office that we have. And he's loved that show for years and he's apparently wanted to make it for very long. And they stuck to their guns to make it in the style that it was meant to be made, like sticking to the mockumentary style, the awkward pauses, the cringe comedy, which won't be easy to do, but they did, and that's full credit to them.
Okay, we're going to break away and talk about some other stuff. How's Gauahar Gorgeous doing? The
Yay!
label.
It's doing really well. In fact, I'm wearing Gorgeous today.
Lovely.
It's been over a year now, and we're traveling with Gorgeous, all over the world. We're doing so many exhibitions. We've got so many lined up till October. It's been some great time.
And this is really like a pet passion for you. You actually take interest in the design, in the distribution, in everything, in the marketing.
Every single thing, right from the buttons are sourced by me to fabric to what kind of cuffs go on, what the design, how many pieces, where do we store it, how do we sell it, everything.
That's very admirable because normally actors get into retirement plans around about the time when they're finishing their main career and you're in the thick of it.
Thank you.
And, you find time and passion to do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Miss Chadda,
Yes.
is the comedy ever going to suffer? Because the beauty for me is, walking into a food festival in Mahalakshmi and seeing you do your improv routine in a crowd.
Yeah.
And now you're slowly becoming world famous.
Well.
What with you doing advertising,
Far
and
from it.
everything. So, and I know that's what's at the core of you. So is that going to continue happening
Yes,
through it all?
improv is going to continue as much as... I mean, I felt bad because during the shooting schedule, obviously I couldn't do improv because it was a crazy schedule. But improv has been one of those things. I've done it for 10 years now. It's a constant challenge, right? You can never feel like, oh, I've got this, I've understood this. It always feels like, oh my God, there's so much more to learn and do. So, no, I want to keep doing improv, no question.
Have you seen him on stage doing
No,
his stuff?
no,
oh,
I
he's
haven't.
fantastic. You have to.
Mukul, what is this?
You
Why are
have to
you not
invite her the
inviting
next
me
time
to
you're
this
there.
Let's do it right away.
Or you will be fired.
Yeah, see, that's a go-to.
Well said. Pulling rank on you. We're doing something called Run with Radio 1, which is a campaign to promote fitness through running.
Okay.
What's your cardio routine? Are you like
I'm a dancer, so I love to dance and get my heart rate up with that. But I don't like being on the treadmill and being on a machine, because even when I'm weight training, I'm more into freehand stuff, functional training and weight training. So cardio is very little on machines, but more in terms of dance.
No, but I mean, you can't possibly run on the streets here. You'd get mobbed.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, let's say you're traveling and you go to Europe.
Oh,
would you
yeah.
just go out for a long walk? Or just run?
Absolutely. I never, when I'm traveling, I'm only walking. In fact, I was in New York just 10 days ago, and I think I must have walked at least 30 kilometers in maybe 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I've just walked and walked and walked.
Walk in boots or chappals, or like Milind Soman barefoot, or what?
No, proper shoes.
Proper
like
running-
walking shoes. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
I know you cycle a lot because your Insta feed is full of all your cycling.
Yeah.
But
I'm running. I mean,
you-
I've been doing some try.
Rasika, yourself went running together in Carter Road or
Venice.
somewhere.
Oh no, sorry, actually, it was something famous which
No,
in Carter,
a couple of days ago.
No. I run, and I think you can run on the roads here. I don't think it's a problem. You can run in the rain. I mean, it's perfect.
They've
With
got
her,
some
she'd
jog-
get mobbed.
Don't-
With her, she'd get mobbed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
She has a problem. Yeah, that's true. We don't have such problems, luckily. But no, I like running outdoors actually.
Long distance, yeah.
Well, not as long. The most I've done is 10 kilometers. I don't go beyond that because I mix it up with cycling and maybe swimming. I did these short triathlons as well. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful
Like you
thing.
did a competitive triathlon?
Well, competitive as in no. I mean, I wasn't competing.
Yeah.
I was just trying to finish. But yeah, not very massive ones. The most I've done is with a 5K run and 20K
So outdoor
cycling.
more than
Outdoor more than
treadmill.
indoor, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. We're doing a campaign called Heal the World because Afroz Shah is doing something
Oh, yeah.
fantastic. In Versova Beach, he and his team
Clean
go and
up.
clean Versova
Yeah.
Beach, and
wow.
then the ocean just throws back more plastic.
Yeah.
So it's an urgent crisis. Everybody's shouting about it. So what happens in the Khan household, in the Chadda household? What are you doing to conserve the environment?
Oh
Save
my
it?
God, I am anal. In fact, my niece will start laughing right now because I'm really getting serious about this thing. And no matter how much my mom gets irritated, I hate running water taps. I hate it to a level where I could literally kill someone. So every day I'm making little efforts, even with myself and even in my household. My people who work for me in terms of cleaning, cooking, whatever, they have strict instructions not to keep the tap running for any amount, not even the second where they put the soap on the dish, they keep it running कि अभी घसेंगे फिर पानी तो चलता ही रहेगा. No, so you have to. I make sure that if you're lathering it, then you put the tap off. When you clean it, then you keep it running. Even when I'm brushing my teeth, and I think it's a duty, not just. I think because religion and faith works so high in India, we must drill this into people's minds that what you're doing could also be for God. I read it like that. I thinking like that if you save the environment, you're also not just doing it for the humankind, because of course you will live, but it's also a duty towards what was given to you. The environment was given to you as a gift, the nature, water, clean places to be in. And that's something that if you just drill it in, maybe it'll have some kind of an effect, because India is so high on religion and faith.
Mukul,
I
environment.
think it's been fantastic that we've had this greater consciousness and this campaign you run. I mean, plastic being banned initially might have been a shocker for people, but it's worked so well. I mean,
Now
you
people
just,
at least know about it.
yeah, and you can make the effort initially and do it with plastic. Our building's been great, and so in our household, the segregation of garbage is done right, and
That's
we
good.
ensure that we keep that going.
Yeah.
Even simple things, like making sure you don't litter anywhere, you
Yeah.
know, and people around you. And I think the consciousness around this has increased, and it's become something that, you know, we all now do, and we start spreading among other people, which is great.
No, but also I think on a school level, what's not being done is the children, the next generation, are not being taught that I've seen it so many times, it boils my blood. A school bus is going past me, and you know, like chips packets, water bottles are being chucked out of the bus. Why are they not being taught about, yaar, ye galat hai, you know? So I think there has to be stricter ways of kind of drilling it in even the next generation that it's not okay to litter. India is your country and you need to save it. I mean, I think my sister shouts at me all the time where I just roll my window down and tell people off and say, pick that up or do that. And I think everybody needs to do that. The moment you see someone throwing something out of their car
Shame them.
or the rickshaw, yeah, you shame them, you tell them to pick it up, no matter what happens.
A travel experience that you indulged in, a place you went to for a holiday and you said, wow, and what struck a chord?
Last one, Italy, and Tuscany within that. I want to go back, actually.
Did you do Florence?
Well, we did Florence, yeah, but I think the Tuscany part of it, outside that, was just magical.
Didn't you also do this amazing trek with your wife where you
Ladakh
were?
last
Oh,
year.
it was beautiful. I was so
I
jealous
saw some
of him.
pictures of
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
But I'd say if you pick one place in the last few years, I'd pick Tuscany again.
Under the Tuscan sun.
Yeah, want to go back actually somehow. Yeah.
Lovely. Go on, a travel destination that you just love.
This year I went to Lisbon and I think it's become my favorite place in the world. There's so much to do. The extended areas of Lisbon are so beautiful. There's an island called Cascais. Beautiful. The roads are fantastic. The history, how it was built. Lisbon was basically gone in an earthquake during in the 1700s, and how the president at that time built it up from scratch, put it on the format of Paris, and now it's almost like Paris, but I think it's better than Paris. It's beautiful things like even the street lights. So if there's a street lamp which has 4 sides to it, it's a normal street, like a good street. If it has 6 on the street light, that means it's an important street, like a bank street or something. If it has 8, then it is a historical street. So details like that made me just say, wow, this place is the place to
Yeah, and the Portuguese ruled Goa for a while, so
be. Yeah.
early Goa.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Also, I think it's it's great on food, lifestyle, things, places to visit. Yeah.
Your favorite decade in terms of anything, fashion,
This decade,
music?
always.
Yeah?
This is it.
The
yeah.
here and now?
This is it, yeah.
You don't look at the 60s and say, oh, the swinging 60s.
Yeah, this is
you don't
it.
look at pop culture and say, wow, the 70s.
No, this is it. From now.
Why?
Well, I think I didn't realize when you asked the question you're talking about, pop culture, but I'm talking about. I was talking about just for me. I mean, I think this is going to be. I somehow
Best
see.
time of your
I
life.
think so. I think it's a good age to be, and it's a great time we live in.
And you're the lead of the office.
Look at the kind of content we're producing and watching, and I think it's
No, but I
fantastic.
mean more generically.
Okay.
Like if you look at people these days, a lot of people turn around and say, look at what this society has become. We were a lot more equanimous in the past. The 80s were
way.
better. The 90s were better. Whatever. So in that aspect too, socially, pop culture-wise, your favorite decade and why?
80s. 80s, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like, I mean, obviously there's always a bias towards, your growing up years or whatever. But there was something about the 80s. I don't know what it is, but there was something, it was a mix of being a little sleepy, the country, and awakening, but at the same time, socially things being a lot nicer. So I would pick that.
Pre-internet either.
Yeah.
Go on, your
I
favorite.
would agree. I would agree. Things were way more innocent back then. There was ease on people's minds. Of course, there was trouble all the time, but there was certain form of, getting away from that in terms of music, in terms of food, in terms of the innocence around. And I was just, again, telling my niece that Hamari time pe it was nothing about, the phone or being addicted to it. In fact, I used to tell my best friend, discuss this with her. Of course, that was in the 90s. I'm a late 80s child, but in the 90s, my best friend would drop me home and she would call me immediately on the landline. So my mother would say, "Ye kaisi friendship hai? Abhi to sara din school mein aake baithe ho." Again, she's calling you right away. So we would discuss, would there be a time where we would be able to see each other over the phone? So it was that innocent at that time, and now it's just like, आप कहीं भी बैठे हो, you can see each other, talk to each other, feel each other, do whatever you want.
Guys, thank you for rolling by, and this was
Thank
such a lovely chat, and I can't wait to run through season 1 of The Office. Lots of love. Thank you.
Thank
Mukul.
you.
Thank
Always
Thanks so
a
much,
pleasure
Hrishi.
talking to you.
Thank you.